Who gave you the right? Your Honor, we believed. To alter what he protected for 20 years? It was a safety decision. No one asked me. Exactly.
Look at the photograph.
I have seen it.
Then look again. This is being exaggerated. The record is accurate.
Well, we were protecting property values.
Whose property? You called the animals an eyesore? Only in a private message.
Private does not mean harmless. They ruined the view. The bulls were on my land. We thought he was hired help. You thought wrong. He looked like staff.
You never asked.
You never corrected us.
I did, twice.
We had a schedule.
A schedule is not ownership.
We needed the ranch cleaned up. It was not yours to clean.
Can money replace 20 years?
The animals survived.
The work did not.
We did not know.
You knew it was not yours.
That is unfair.
So was entering his land.
Display the signature. Exhibit 41.
That is not his hand. She cannot know that. She saw me sign the deed.
One forged signature.
We were trying to protect the neighborhood from its rightful owner.
Read the deed.
Whose name is on it? The ranch belongs to... Stop. Continue.
The courtroom went silent when the judge lifted a photograph of two bandaged prize bulls and asked, "Who gave you the right to alter what another man spent 20 years protecting?" Across the aisle, the HOA president stared at the floor. Her friends had called the animals an eyesore. They mocked the quiet black rancher in dusty boots and assumed he was hired help. But what happens when a cosmetic power play destroys something money cannot replace? Why did one forged signature matter more than every excuse? The answer would cost them 5 years and expose who truly owned the land beneath their perfect neighborhood. Stay to the end, because the final ruling changed far more than one ranch. The judge lowered the photograph until its edge touched the polished wood. "Mrs. Hale," she said, "look at it." Vanessa kept her eyes on the table. Brooke folded a tissue into smaller squares. Tanya rubbed the corner of a legal pad, while Derek stared past the witness stand. Judge Marisol Bennett tapped the image. "These animals were altered without the owner's consent. You called that a misunderstanding. Do you still?" Vanessa inhaled. "Your Honor, the committee believed there was an immediate safety concern." "Documented where?" "Our internal messages. Those are already in evidence." The air conditioner clicked off. In the sudden quiet, Malcolm heard Evelyn's leather breeding ledger creak beneath his fingers. His thumbs rested over the seam she had repaired with blue thread 17 years earlier. The judge nodded to the clerk. "Play Exhibit 42. A speaker hissed. Then Vanessa's recorded voice filled the room. "Finish it before the worker gets back. I don't want those horns in the buyer's photographs." A chair scraped in the rear gallery. Vanessa whispered, "That was taken out of context." Judge Bennett leaned forward. "Then explain the context in which another person's property became yours to redesign." Derek's attorney rose. "Objection." Overruled. Malcolm felt the ledger press into his knees. Tanya finally looked at him. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. 6 weeks earlier, she had signed her name with one tap. The judge turned toward Malcolm. "Dr. Reed, you may answer." He lifted his gaze. "The photograph answers enough." At 8:17 a.m., the bailiff called recess. Reporters poured into the marble corridor, their shoes striking the floor in quick, hollow bursts. Malcolm stayed seated until Asha touched his shoulder. "You need water." "I'm fine. You said that yesterday." She placed an open bottle beside the ledger. Condensation spread into a dark ring, and Malcolm moved the book before taking a drink. Near the doors, Brooke hissed at Vanessa. "You told us there was no audio." "I said there shouldn't have been." Tanya turned on her. "That is not the same sentence." Derek stepped between them. "Not here." A deputy opened the door. Cool air carried in coffee and floor polish. Beyond the glass, cameras waited. One reporter called through the narrowing gap. "Did they know who you were?" Malcolm let the door close without answering at all. Malcolm closed the ledger. A dried blue petal had slipped onto his jacket cuff. Asha held out her hand. Mom's flower? He eased it back between the pages. Still there. When court resumed, Judge Bennett said the ruling would follow the final witness and restitution review. Vanessa's lawyer requested another delay. No, the judge said. We will not spend another day pretending the property line was unclear. The remaining question is what each defendant chose after learning the truth. The red recording light came on above the clerk's desk. 6 weeks earlier, before forged signatures and courtroom exhibits, another red object had appeared at the gate of Hollow Creek Ranch. It was a plastic warning sign, snapping in the spring wind over land the HOA did not own. At 6:12 the next morning, the warning sign did not yet exist. Malcolm crossed the damp yard with a feed bucket knocking against his knee. Fog lay silver around the fence posts, and the air smelled of wet cedar. Atlas lifted his head. Solomon followed, brushing one horn against the gate with a hollow knock. Easy, Malcolm said. Too handsome to be this impatient. He poured grain into the trough. Warm breath clouded above their muzzles as he checked the brass tool on his belt. Evelyn had used it every spring, insisting numbers mattered only if the hand holding them was honest. His phone vibrated. Asha appeared beneath the fluorescent lights of her veterinary clinic. You're already outside. They noticed. They always notice. I got the scholarship applications. How many? 32. Last year, there had been 19. And the fund? Enough for 6 awards. 7 if I cut the lab stipend. No. Dad. Students should not choose between tuition and gloves. Then we need another breeding contract before June. Atlas pushed his nose against Malcolm's sleeve. Malcolm opened the leather ledger on the truck's tailgate. Evelyn's dried blue flower lay between 2 lineage charts. We'll find one, he said. You say that, like weather. Weather changes. So do bank balances. Call me after rounds. Promise you'll eat. No promises I can't verify. She shook her head. Mom would have made you swear. She had better leverage. After the call, Malcolm wrote the morning weights beside Atlas and Solomon's names. The blue flower trembled when the breeze lifted the page. He covered it with 2 fingers until it settled. By 8, sunlight had burned through the fog. Malcolm replaced a warped cedar rail along the boundary with Stonegate Ridge. Beyond the pasture, pale houses stood in rows. Cut grass and gasoline drifted from a landscaping crew. Camilla Shaw watched from her porch, binoculars over a red cardigan. Morning, Malcolm. Morning. Those 2 watching you or judging you? Solomon stood beside the repair. Both. Better manners than my board. A golf cart rolled along the community path. Vanessa Hale drove, with Brooke Mallory beside her. Vanessa pointed toward the bulls. Brooke raised her phone and took 3 pictures. Camilla's smile vanished. They've been measuring sightlines all week. For what? Spring property tour. Gerald Frost wants the new lot sold before summer. Vanessa says the pasture ruins the view. The pasture was here first. I told her. And? She said history doesn't improve resale value. The cart stopped at the far corner. Vanessa spoke into her phone while Brooke gestured toward the fence as if moving pieces on a board. Malcolm drove the last nail flush. At 11:40, Asha sent a photograph of the applications stacked on her desk. The top essay began with 3 visible words. My Family Ranch. He read them twice, then opened Evelyn's ledger to the page where she had written the scholarship's first rule in blue ink. No student turned away because someone underestimated them. Behind him, a horn struck the gate once. A white SUV had stopped on the county road. Vanessa stepped out with an envelope, and 3 followed her toward Malcolm's fence. Vanessa Hale stopped 3 feet from the fence and held out an envelope. "This is for the owner." Malcolm set his hammer on the rail. "You can give it to me." Her eyes moved over his faded shirt, dusty jeans, and boots. "I said the owner." Behind her, Brooke Mallory, 44, checked a gold watch. Treasurer Tanya Cole, 47, held a leather folder. Derek Sloan, 39, rocked a survey wheel beneath one boot. "I own Hollow Creek," Malcolm said. Vanessa smiled without warmth. "Then sign for it." He opened the envelope. The notice ordered the removal or screening of hazardous livestock within 10 days. The paper smelled of hot toner. "This ranch isn't in your association." Derek nodded toward the houses. "The fence says otherwise." "The county map doesn't." Tanya shifted. "Vanessa, we should verify the parcel." "We did." "Which parcel?" Malcolm asked. No one answered. A gust pressed the notice against the rusted wire. Brooke caught it before it tore. "We have buyers touring on the 23rd, she said. "Families don't want those animals beside the path." "The path is across a ditch and 2 fences." "People see horns," Vanessa replied. "They don't calculate ditches." Atlas moved through the grass. Brooke stepped back. Derek stopped the wheel. Malcolm folded the notice. "Your rules end before this fence." Vanessa's jaw tightened. "Pass that to whoever handles legal matters." "I handle them." She turned to Tanya. "Note that staff refused cooperation." Camilla called from her porch. "His name is on the deed, Vanessa." Camilla lowered her binoculars. "This is an association matter, Mrs. Shaw," Vanessa said. "It becomes a map matter when you move a boundary." Tanya opened her folder. Inside, a blue HOA line cut through the old creek bend and swallowed 11 acres. "May I?" Tanya handed it over. Malcolm pointed toward a faded marker by the ditch. "This is the proposed expansion line, not the recorded boundary." Derek stepped closer. "Markers get moved." "That one is set in concrete. We can order another survey." "You can order anything you're willing to pay for." Brooke exhaled. "Can we solve this without making it personal?" Malcolm returned to the map. "It became personal when you ordered me off my land." Tanya finally met his eyes. Vanessa snatched the plan back. 10 days. Then the board will pursue corrective action." "Under what authority?" "You'll receive the documentation." She turned toward the SUV. Brooke followed. Derek photographed the gate code box. Tanya remained by the fence. "I'll check the parcel," she said. "Check the creek bend." Vanessa called her name. Tanya walked away. The SUV left, gravel ticking against the ditch. Malcolm placed the notice on the truck hood. A brown ring marked the signature line where Vanessa's cup had touched the page. Camilla crossed the grass carrying an old county atlas. "They're wrong," she said. "I know. They may not care." Malcolm looked toward the gate code box Derek had photographed. On the SUV's rear window, a red sticker read, "Spring Tour Access." The wind lifted the notice. Beneath the citation, a second line appeared in smaller print. "Emergency entry may be authorized by the board." The plastic sign struck the gate with a sharp clack, paused in the wind, then struck again. Malcolm stood beside it at 6:45 a.m., one hand on the cold chain. "Property hazard. Keep clear." Ran in red across the top. The Stonegate Ridge seal covered the agency line. A second sign hung near the creek. A third had been stapled to a cedar post inside his boundary. Camilla arrived in rubber boots, carrying coffee. "They put those up after midnight." "You saw them?" "I heard a truck. White utility lights. No headlights." Malcolm pulled the first staple free. The plastic snapped against his wrist. "Leave one," Camilla said. Evidence looks better before it's cleaned. He set the sign on his tailgate. Wet grass darkened his jeans. Atlas and Solomon moved through the mist behind them. At 8:10, a high buzzing rolled over the pasture. A gray survey drone crossed the fence line, dipped above the bulls, then turned toward the barn. Malcolm lifted his phone and began recording. "That yours?" Camilla asked. "No." The drone descended until Solomon backed from the trough. "Take it up," Malcolm called. A speaker crackled. Derek's voice answered, thin and metallic. "Routine site measurement. You are over private livestock. We're documenting visual impact. You're disturbing them. Then restrain them." Malcolm stepped between the drone and the animals, holding the phone steady. Camilla raised her camera. "I have the time and altitude." The drone climbed at once. By noon, Vanessa had gathered 6 residents beside the community path. Brooke held a binder, while Gerald Frost pointed toward the new lots. "The buyers will stand here," Vanessa said. "The ranch needs to look controlled." Malcolm approached from the pasture side. "This is controlled." Vanessa turned. "You removed official warnings. You place them on land you don't govern. They concern community safety. Then why does one mention photography angles?" Brooke closed the binder too quickly. Gerald cleared his throat. "We only need cooperation until the tour is finished." "Cooperation with what?" "A temporary visual solution," Vanessa said. "Screening, relocation, alteration if necessary." Camilla stepped closer. "Alteration of what?" Vanessa ignored her. "Mr. Reed, continued refusal will be documented. So will entry." Gerald looked at Derek, who stood with a tablet under his arm. That afternoon, Camilla spread 2 maps across Malcolm's kitchen table. The room smelled of coffee and cedar shavings. She tapped the HOA map. "These coordinates are wrong." "How wrong?" 287 feet at the creek bend. They used the proposed expansion survey as if it had been recorded. Malcolm placed the county atlas beside it. The boundary lines separated cleanly. "Accident?" Camilla looked toward the window. The drone had returned, motionless above the road. "Not after you corrected them yesterday." Outside, the gate sign struck metal again. Clack, pause, clack. Malcolm turned the HOA map over. Beneath a revision date, 4 initials had been entered in blue ink. V, H, B, M, T, C, D, S. Camilla read them aloud. Then the drone camera rotated toward the barn door. At 7:03 p.m., Malcolm entered the clubhouse with the county map beneath his arm. Conversation stopped. The room smelled of lemon cleaner and burnt coffee. Chairs faced a polished table where Vanessa sat between Brooke and Tanya. Derek leaned against the wall. Gerald Frost, 55, silver-haired, studied a sales chart. Vanessa tapped the microphone. "We'll address the ranch issue first." Camilla sat in the back row. "It has a name." Vanessa ignored her. "The hired hand from Hollow Creek has refused every reasonable request." "I own Hollow Creek," Malcolm said. A few heads turned. Derek laughed once. "Convenient?" Malcolm placed the deed copy on the table. "Recorded in Cedar County. The parcel follows the old creek bend." Brooke lifted it by one corner. "Anyone can print a document." "The clerk's stamp is raised." Gerald looked over. "Mr. Reed, nobody is questioning your dignity. We're discussing property values." "You questioned my ownership before I entered." A man near the coffee station lowered his cup. No one answered. Vanessa folded her hands. "Residents have reported fear." "Names?" "We protect complainants." "Dates?" "Do not interrogate the board." Malcolm glanced at the projector. A drone photograph of Atlas and Solomon filled the screen beneath the words, "Visual liability." "You flew over my pasture after notice." Derek shrugged. "Public airspace." "At 12 feet? That estimate is yours." Camilla raised her phone. "Mine too." Chairs creaked. Gerald's jaw tightened. Tanya opened her folder. The boundary should be reviewed before further action. Vanessa turned to her. It was reviewed. "Not against the recorded plat." Brooke murmured. "Not now." Malcolm unfolded the county map. "Here." Vanessa reached for it, but Gerald moved first. His sleeve struck a glass. Brown water spread across the deed, soaking the lower seal. "Oh," he said, without helping. Laughter flickered from the second row. Malcolm lifted the page. Water ran from one corner onto his boot. He pressed a napkin against the stamp, then smoothed the bent edge. The room went quiet. Camilla stood. "That land was there before your gates." "Sit down or leave," Vanessa said. "No." Gerald pushed back his chair. "This is becoming emotional." Malcolm laid the wet deed flat. "No, it is becoming documented." Derek stepped closer. "Is that a threat?" "It's a record." Tanya stared at the stained seal. "We should suspend enforcement." Vanessa switched off the microphone. "The board will not be intimidated by paperwork waved around by someone dressed like maintenance staff." No one laughed this time. Malcolm folded the deed along its dry crease. The paper resisted where the stain had softened it. "You asked for the owner," he said. "He came." He turned toward the exit. Camilla followed, but Gerald's voice carried after them. "The tour is in 12 days. Solve it." Outside, heat pressed against Malcolm's face. Through the closing door came Vanessa's answer. "We will." In the parking lot, Camilla touched the wet corner of the deed. They embarrassed themselves. Malcolm looked back at 4 silhouettes around the table. "Not enough to stop them." Inside, Vanessa pulled the blinds while Derek opened his laptop. The blinds clicked shut behind Malcolm and Camilla. Vanessa waited until their footsteps faded, then turned the deadbolt. The ceiling fan stirred air smelling of coffee and floor wax. Derek reopened his laptop. "There is a faster option." Tanya closed her folder. "No, you haven't heard it." "I know that tone." Brooke lifted Malcolm's deed from the wastebasket. The seal had blurred, but his name remained clear. "He owns it. He owns land," Vanessa said. "He does not own what buyers see." Derek turned the screen toward them. A drone image showed Atlas in the pasture. "Temporary veterinary modification." Brooke frowned. "Meaning?" "The horns come off." Tanya's chair scraped backward. "Absolutely not. They remain healthy. No transport, no fencing, no problem in the photographs. They are animals, not landscaping." Vanessa studied the image. "Before the tour?" "Yes." "Legal." Derek opened a form marked Emergency Livestock Authorization. "If there is an immediate safety concern." "There isn't one," Tanya said. "The board can document concern." Brooke rubbed the stained corner of deed. "He warned us." "He embarrassed us," Vanessa replied. "That is different." At 9:16 p.m., blue light filled the room. The cursor blinked beside owner or authorized agent. "He will never sign," Tanya said. "He may not need to." Derek opened an archived fire safety packet. A 6-digit code appeared beside Hollow Creek East Gate. "That code is for evacuation crews. It opens the gate." Brooke glanced at the dark windows. "What if Malcolm is there?" "He leaves Thursday for a livestock conference," Vanessa said. "Camilla visits her sister on Fridays." "How do you know?" "I pay attention." Tanya stood. "I'm not signing." Vanessa rotated the laptop toward her. "Then Gerald tells every homeowner this board failed." Buyers see those horns. Sales fall, dues rise, and you explain why. The ranch is outside our authority. It won't look outside it from the tour path. The cursor kept blinking. Brooke folded her arms. What if the procedure harms them? It won't. Derek answered too quickly. What if there are cameras? The gate system stores locally. I can reset it. Tanya's fingers slipped on her folder clasp. Twice. I want written veterinary confirmation. You'll have it. Before entry. Of course. Vanessa slid the laptop closer. This page approves inspection only. Outside, a sprinkler struck the glass every 7 seconds. Inspection only? Tanya asked. Vanessa nodded. Tanya touched the trackpad. Her electronic signature appeared in blue. Brooke whispered, "That was too easy." Derek closed the file before Tanya could scroll. A second page flashed. Procedure consent. Open that, Tanya said. Standard attachment. Vanessa pressed one hand over the lid. Enough. Friday morning. No association vehicles. No logos. And if he returns early? Brooke asked. Vanessa fed Malcolm's damp deed into the shredder. Finish before the worker comes back. The blades caught the county seal first. Outside, Camilla paused beside her car. Through the wall, she heard the shredder grind, then stop. When the lights went dark, Derek carried the laptop beneath his coat toward Hollow Creek's east gate. The knot on the east gate was wrong. Malcolm stopped with one hand on the chain. He had tied that gate the same way for 19 years. Loop left, tail down. Now the rope crossed itself twice, stiff with fresh dust. His conference badge still hung from his pocket. He dropped his bag beside the truck and called, "Atlas." No answer came from the pasture. "Solomon." A fly buzzed against the gate. Near the barn, loose tin clicked in the hot wind. Tire marks cut through the grass toward the recovery pen. Malcolm walked faster. The smell reached him first. Antiseptic, warm hay, and something chemical beneath it. Atlas lay in the shade, breathing slowly. Solomon stood with his head lowered. White veterinary wraps covered the places where their long horns had been. For several seconds, Malcolm did not move. Then he saw the brass measuring tool beside the trough. One arm had snapped from the hinge. He picked up the broken half. The metal was cold despite the heat. "No," he said. Solomon shifted toward him and brushed the rail with a soft thud. Malcolm checked both animals, then called Dr. Lena Price. "Tell me they're standing." "One is." "Breathing steady?" "Yes." "Any active bleeding?" "No." "I'm 12 minutes away. Don't remove anything. Don't feed them yet." He crouched between the bulls. Dust pressed through his jeans. The badge flipped against his chest, showing Dr. Malcolm Reed, Livestock Genetics Panel, then turned face down. Lena arrived in a white ranch truck, her gray-streaked braids swinging as she pulled on gloves. "Who did this?" "I don't know." "You authorize anything?" "No." She examined Atlas, then Solomon. "Hold the gate." Malcolm did. "Easy, boy," she murmured. A generator hummed beyond the barn. Lena found a medical container under a tarp and read the lot number. "Mobile Livestock Service. Can you trace it?" "I can try." She removed one glove and faced him. They should recover physically if there's no complication. "And the shows?" Her eyes dropped to the broken tool. "Those are over." "The breeding contracts?" "Some may remain, but the historical measurements and championship classification are gone." Wind moved through the pen. A strip of white wrap fluttered against Atlas's neck. Malcolm rubbed the brass edge with his thumb. Evelyn had engraved a tiny E inside the hinge. Lena saw it. "That was hers?" "She measured their first generation." His phone rang. Asha. He let it ring twice. How was the conference? Fine. You sound outside. I am. Dad? Lena turned away and photographed the gate, tracks, and container. Malcolm watched Solomon lower himself into the hay. Come tomorrow, he said. What happened? Bring the scholarship files. The line went quiet. I'm coming now. Asha, don't tell me to wait. He looked at the 2 white bandages, bright against the dim pen. Drive carefully. After the call, Lena held up a folded form found beneath the container. There's a consent number. I gave no consent. It lists an owner authorization. Malcolm took the page. Beneath his printed name, someone had signed Malcolm Reed in a slanted imitation of his hand. The broken brass tool clicked once as his grip tightened. Asha arrived before sunset with the scholarship files pressed to her chest. She stopped at the recovery pen. Where are the horns? Malcolm did not answer. Atlas shifted in the hay, and the papers crackled in her grip. No, she whispered. Who did this? Dr. Price closed her case. Both animals are stable. I need blood work tonight. That wasn't my question. It's the answer I can prove. Malcolm handed Asha the consent form. She read the signature twice. That is not yours. No. Then call the sheriff. We preserve everything first. They walked onto Mom's ranch and changed the animals she spent her life building. The ranch is still here. The line isn't. He looked at the bandages. I know. At 7:38 p.m., Lena photographed the container, tire marks, gate latch, and every page. Malcolm sealed the broken brass tool in an evidence bag. A county deputy arrived and frowned at the authorization. This may be civil. Forgery is not civil, Asha said. Ownership and access are disputed. They are recorded, Malcolm replied. The deputy glanced toward the pen. I'll file an incident report. Will you collect the container? You can retain it. Asha gave a short laugh. Malcolm touched her elbow. She stepped away. By morning, the HOA had sent an email titled, Violation Resolved. It thanked the board for addressing a documented hazard and attached the forged consent. Malcolm called the association office. Vanessa answered. You received the closure notice? You entered my property. We acted under emergency authority. You used my name. We relied on documents supplied by the contractor. Who authorized the procedure? Papers shifted on her desk. Direct further questions to counsel. Did you know the signature was false? The line went dead. At 10:05, the insurance adjuster called. Until consent is resolved, the claim is suspended. For how long? I can't estimate. The scholarship payment is due in 12 days. I'm sorry, Dr. Reed. Sorry did not move money. That afternoon, Nathan Keller, the HOA's 36-year-old attorney, served Malcolm with a temporary order barring removal, breeding use, or transfer of genetic material from Atlas and Solomon pending review. You filed this after altering them? Malcolm asked. My client maintains the animals posed a risk. Your client created the condition she wants reviewed. Nathan adjusted his briefcase. I'm not here to argue. You already are. The courthouse corridor was empty when Malcolm sat beneath fluorescent lights. A vending machine hummed beside him, washing the envelope in cold blue. Asha stood opposite him with the scholarship ledger. We can cover 6 students, she said. Not 7. He folded the papers once. Dad, say something. He looked at Evelyn's handwriting beside the final applicant's name. We don't cut anyone yet. How? He placed the forged consent beside the court order. From a distance, the signatures looked identical. Almost. At the bottom of the form, A digital code marked its source, SG-EMR-04. Malcolm turned the page toward Asha. "Stonegate emergency records," she said. The elevator bell rang. Nathan Keller stepped out carrying the original file. Nathan Keller stopped when he saw the forged consent in Malcolm's hand. "You have the original?" Malcolm asked. "I have what my client provided." "Then you have the access log." "That is privileged." "The gate code is printed on the form." Asha stepped closer. "And the form carries my father's copied signature." The elevator doors began to close. Nathan caught them with his shoulder. "I advise you to communicate through counsel." "You filed before verifying ownership," Malcolm said. "I relied on the board's records." "Then verify the record that opened my gate." The doors shut before Nathan answered. At 4:20 p.m., Malcolm and Asha returned to Hollow Creek. Heat had gathered inside the tack room, thick with leather, dust, and liniment. Beyond the wall, Solomon shifted. The scrape of hoof against packed earth repeated every few seconds. Asha opened the scholarship ledger. 6 awards, she said. "The 7th student loses housing if we wait past Friday." "We won't wait." "With what money?" Malcolm set his conference badge beside Evelyn's leather book. "Dad, I heard you." "No, you heard numbers." He turned the brass fragment inside its evidence bag. The broken hinge flashed under the bare bulb. Asha lowered her voice. "Mom built this so people like that student wouldn't have to beg anyone to believe they belonged." Malcolm studied the 7th application. One sentence had been crossed out so hard the paper had nearly torn. "I can defer the equipment order. That gives us 3 weeks. 3 weeks is time. And after that." He did not answer. Asha stepped away before the silence became an argument. When the screen door slammed, the bulls stirred. Malcolm sat alone and opened an old voice file labeled E. Spring Checks. Evelyn's voice filled the room for less than 2 seconds. "Malcolm, don't forget." He stopped it. The phone screen glowed against his hand. Outside, insects buzzed in the hot grass. A strand of hay clung to his sleeve, and he picked at it until it broke. Dr. Price called at 6:03. "The blood work is clean." "Both?" "Both. They'll need monitoring, but they're stable." "Thank you. There's more. The medication lot came from a mobile service contracted twice by Stonegate." "Name?" "Red Plains Livestock Care. The veterinarian approved sedation, not the procedure." "Will he put that in writing?" "He already did. He also said the crew was given an emergency gate code." After the call, Malcolm powered up the old gate terminal in the feed office. Its fan rattled as the screen warmed. He entered SG-MR-04. A hidden access history opened. Friday, 9:11 a.m. Code accepted. Friday, 9:13 a.m. East Gate opened. Friday, 11:48 a.m. Log reset requested. The reset had failed. Malcolm printed the page. Warm paper slid out, smelling of toner. At the bottom sat an administrator tag. DSLOAN-FIELD. Asha returned carrying 2 mugs. "You found something?" Derek used the emergency code. "Can that prove who came through?" "Not alone." A shadow crossed the frosted window. Camilla stood outside, holding a small memory drive between 2 fingers. "My porch camera saw the road Friday," she said. "And I think it saw more than the road." Camilla set the memory drive beside the mugs. "My camera faces the road," she said. "At 9:08 Friday, a truck turned toward your east gate." Malcolm opened his laptop. Warm air carried hay and coffee across the keys. Derek's white truck entered frame, followed by Vanessa's SUV. "Pause," Asha said. Brooke sat beside Vanessa. Tanya was visible in back. 3 minutes before your gate log opened, Camilla said. The video resumed. Derek entered the code and waved both vehicles through. Brooke argued beside the gate. Tanya held both hands over her mouth. There was no sound. Malcolm inserted a blank drive. A narrow bar appeared. 3%. Make 2 copies, Camilla said. 3, Asha replied. Dr. Price arrived with a sealed report. The medication lot was issued at 8:42, she said. The crew logged sedation at 9:36. Malcolm set the gate record beside it. Entry at 9:13. Then they were already inside. Can you state that in court? I can state the timeline. The copy bar reached 39%. A knock sounded. Rachel Kim entered. 38. An investigator with the State Agricultural Protection Service. Behind her came Isaac Moore. 51. A document examiner who tilted each page toward the light. Rachel showed her credentials. Dr. Price contacted us. Everything is here, Malcolm said. Isaac examined the consent beneath a lamp. Heated plastic gave off a chemical smell. This signature was copied, he said. You're certain? Asha asked. The pressure pattern is identical, including 1 hesitation stroke. Source? Rachel asked. Malcolm opened the scholarship contract. Isaac aligned the pages. This one. The copy bar reached 72%. Rachel faced Camilla. Will you sign a statement? I should have spoken sooner. You're speaking now. A hoof scraped beyond the wall. That doesn't put anything back, Camilla said. No, Malcolm answered, but it keeps them from erasing what happened. His phone vibrated. Brooke had sent 6 screenshots and 1 sentence. I did not understand what they were really signing. Vanessa's message sat at the bottom of the board thread. Finish it before the worker gets back. Preserve the whole chain, Rachel said. Another screenshot showed Tanya asking whether Hollow Creek lay outside HOA authority. Vanessa had replied, It does not matter from the tour path. The progress bar moved to 96%. Solomon struck the stall wall once. Everyone stopped. The laptop chimed. 100%. Rachel closed her case. I'm requesting an emergency hearing today. Nathan Keller arrived with a preservation demand. Rachel handed him one first. Your clients are not to delete messages, reset devices, or contact witnesses. What are you alleging? Nathan asked. Malcolm slid over the consent, gate log, and a still image of all 4 defendants entering the ranch. Nathan's face changed. At 3:40 p.m., the clerk called Hollow Creek Ranch versus Stonegate Ridge Association. The room smelled of floor polish and damp paper. Nathan rose when Judge Bennett asked who owned the land. The association believes the man present is merely the caretaker. Rachel placed a sealed registry file on the clerk's desk. Then the association should hear his full name entered into the record. The clerk broke the seal and unfolded the registry extract. Owner of record, she read, Malcolm Elias Reed, sole proprietor of Hollow Creek Ranch. Nathan Keller looked toward Vanessa. Judge Bennett raised one hand. Did your client verify ownership before seeking this order? We relied on association records. Records that placed private land inside your boundary? Yes, Your Honor. Rachel Kim slid the county plat across the table. The recorded line stops 287 feet east of the ranch fence. Paper rasped beneath the judge's fingers. Cold touched Malcolm's collar. Vanessa leaned toward Nathan. Tell her he works there. The microphone caught every word. Judge Bennett turned. Mrs. Hale, he owns it. Camilla sat with both hands around her cane. Asha stood behind Malcolm, the scholarship ledger against her ribs. Nathan cleared his throat. Ownership does not resolve the safety question. No, Malcolm said. The evidence does. State your qualifications. Malcolm opened Evelyn's leather ledger. The dried blue flower remained between the lineage charts. Doctorate in livestock genetics, 21 years managing breeding programs, former member of the State Livestock Standards Commission. Rachel added, he helped draft the protocol used in the defendant's emergency filing. Brooke lowered her eyes. Tanya's pen stopped above her notes. Judge Bennett studied the filing. Your expert citation is Dr. Reed's published standard. Nathan turned a page too quickly and tore its corner. Vanessa whispered, that cannot be right. Malcolm met her eyes. It was right before you met me. At 4:05 p.m., Dr. Price took the stand. She said Atlas and Solomon were stable, then described what had been lost. They can live comfortably, she said, but their championship classification depended on horn development across generations. That record cannot be recreated. Financial damage? Nathan asked. Substantial. Speculative? No. Existing contracts name those measurements. Malcolm placed the ledger beneath the document camera. Blue ink, dates, and Evelyn's corrections filled the screen. These pages funded the scholarship? Judge Bennett asked. Yes. How many recipients? 7, if the payment's clear. Asha's fingers tightened around the chair rail. Nathan rose. Dr. Reed's history is compelling, but it does not prove my clients authorized the procedure. Rachel connected Camilla's memory drive. The screen showed Derek entering the emergency code. Vanessa's SUV followed. Brooke stepped out. Tanya remained in back. Then Rachel displayed the message. Finish it before the worker gets back. The ventilation fan rattled overhead. Judge Bennett removed her glasses. Which worker? Vanessa looked at Malcolm. We misunderstood his role. You misunderstood a deed, a map, a warning, and a man standing before you. The judge vacated the temporary order, froze the association's records, and scheduled a full hearing for Monday. As the doors opened, reporters crowded the corridor. Nathan blocked Vanessa. Do not delete anything, he said. I already cleaned the group thread. Rachel heard her. So did the preservation server, she replied, lifting a recovery notice. Monday's hearing began at 9:02 a.m. with the recovered messages on the courtroom monitor. Vanessa sat rigid beside Nathan Keller. Brooke twisted a paperclip. Tanya had brought no notebook. Derek stared at the floor as the screen changed. Judge Bennett looked toward Dr. Lena Price. What can be restored? Comfort and health with proper care, Lena said. Not the original horn development, not the championship classification, not the historical measurements. Nathan stood. But the bulls remain capable of breeding? Yes. Then the program continues. Lena turned toward him. A bloodline can continue while a record is still destroyed. The room smelled of damp coats and toner. Malcolm sat with Evelyn's ledger closed beneath one hand. Rachel Kim advanced to the next message. Tanya. Hollow Creek is outside our line. We need written consent. Vanessa. It does not matter from the tour path. Brooke. I have the emergency gate packet. Derek. I can make the entry look routine. Nathan removed his glasses. Mrs. Cole, did you still sign? I was told the page approved an inspection. Rachel displayed the file history. Tanya's signature appeared at 9:16 p.m. The procedure consent had been attached 14 seconds later. You closed the file before she could scroll, Rachel said. The software did. The audit log records your administrator account. Brooke squeezed the paperclip until it snapped. One half struck the table. Judge Bennett turned to her. Who provided the gate code? I did. Did you call the owner? No. Why not? Brooke looked toward Malcolm. We thought he was staff. Malcolm did not move. The next exhibit showed Vanessa's Friday message. Remove anything with the ranch name before photos. Then another. Do not let the worker see the crew. Nathan objected to the wording being treated as evidence of intent. The wording speaks plainly, Judge Bennett said. At 11:18, Malcolm took the stand. The wooden rail felt cold beneath his palm. Nathan approached. Dr. Reed, the animals are recovering? Yes. And you retain valuable genetic material? Yes. So your claim is primarily financial? No. Malcolm opened the ledger. My wife measured the first calves in this line 20 years ago. She recorded every pairing, every illness, every correction. The contracts paid for students she never met. He turned one page. The dried blue flower slipped free and landed on the evidence table. No one reached for it. They did not remove decoration, Malcolm said. They ended the last work we finished together. Brooke covered her mouth. Tanya lowered her head. Vanessa faced forward, fingers white around the table's edge. Judge Bennett let the pause remain. What remedy are you seeking? Malcolm closed the ledger without touching the flower. I have not decided. The judge ordered damage assessments, scholarship records, and financial disclosures from all 4 defendants before Friday. Outside, Nathan caught Malcolm near the elevators. A full judgment could cost some of them their homes. Malcolm watched the numbers descend. They knew where mine ended. The doors opened, but he did not step inside. Behind him, the blue flower lay between 4 unsigned restitution forms. The elevator doors closed without Malcolm. Nathan Keller stayed beside him. You heard the estimates. Vanessa could lose her house. Brooke has 2 mortgages. Derek's business may fold. Malcolm watched rain darken the steps. And Tanya? She may keep hers if the court accepts structured payment. You can ask for money and end this. Can money restore the line? No. Then money alone does not end it. At 1:30 p.m., Harvey Lawson met them in a mediation room smelling of paper, coffee, and wet wool. 61, broad-shouldered, silver-haired, he placed 4 black pens across an oak table. I handle restorative agreements, he said, not forgiveness, repair. Vanessa sat farthest from Malcolm. Brooke kept her coat on. Tanya held bank statements. Derek bounced one knee. Harvey opened the report. Lost contracts, veterinary care, scholarship disruption, legal costs. The total is substantial. Derek leaned forward. We can't pay that. You authorized something you could not afford, Asha said. Vanessa turned to Malcolm. You want us ruined. He waited, then said, No. The word landed harder than accusation. Harvey asked, Then what do you want? Malcolm set Evelyn's ledger on the table. The scholarship funded, the animals cared for, the ranch repaired, and 5 years in which none of them can call this a paperwork mistake. Nathan frowned. 5 years of what? Work. Derek laughed once. No one joined him. Fence repair, feed logs, water systems, training in animal care, community education, every hour supervised and recorded. Vanessa's face tightened. You expect me to shovel stalls? I expect you to touch what you treated as scenery. Harvey turned the pens so their clips faced the defendants. At 3:05, rain beat harder against the window. Tanya opened her folder. I'll sign if the agreement protects my family's home. It protects dependents from forced displacement, Harvey said. It does not erase your obligation. Brooke whispered, If we refuse? Nathan answered. Full judgment. Liens. Liquidation. Possible fraud referral. Derek pushed back his chair. This is coercion. No, Harvey said. This is choice arriving late. Vanessa stared at the nearest pen. 4 pens lay on the document. 4 hands stayed still. The wall clock ticked. Then Tanya picked up the first pen. Brooke followed. Derek signed after Nathan read the enforcement clause aloud. Vanessa did not move. You called me a worker, Malcolm said quietly. For 5 years, you will learn what the word means. Vanessa looked at him for the first time that day. Her hand trembled once before taking the final pen. At 4:42, Judge Bennett reviewed the agreement in court. Payments are mandatory. Service is supervised. Missed hours become contempt. Ethics training must be completed before ranch access. Harvey nodded. Independent coordinator assigned. Name? Omar Blake. The judge signed. The scratch of her pen was the only sound. Outside, Asha asked, Why didn't you take everything? Malcolm slid the ledger beneath his coat. Because loss does not become justice by changing owners. Across the hall, Vanessa stood beside the others, reading their first work schedule. Monday, 6 a.m. East Fence Repair. At 5:57 Monday morning, Vanessa stood outside the Hollow Creek barn in polished loafers. Omar Blake, 48 and broad-backed, looked at them, then at the mud. You'll ruin those in 10 minutes. They're waterproof. They're expensive. That isn't the same thing. He handed her plain rubber boots. Brooke took hers silently. Tanya removed her watch and pulled on gloves. Derek glanced toward his truck. My tools are better. Today you use ranch tools, Omar said. Today you learn where they are kept. The air smelled of earth and feed. Malcolm waited at the east fence with a clipboard. Derek replaced warped rails. Brooke cleaned troughs. Tanya recorded feed weights. Vanessa took the broken gate line. This post is crooked, she said. It was straight before your crew entered, Malcolm answered. She lifted the post driver. The first impact jarred her shoulders. The second sent mud across her trousers. No one laughed. By 8:20, Brooke's hands shook. Tanya stopped at the scholarship office, where 7 framed letters hung above a desk. These are the students? She asked. Asha nodded. This year's group. The Bulls paid for this? Their breeding contracts did. Tanya read one line. My family owns 40 acres and 1 borrowed tractor. Vanessa entered with a coil of wire and saw the payment ledger. How much was missing? Enough to delay housing for 1 student, Asha said. Did they lose it? No. He deferred equipment purchases. Vanessa looked through the doorway at Malcolm repairing a hinge with Derek. She set the wire down. At noon, Omar reviewed humane handling, property access, and consent under the shade roof. Brooke raised her hand. What if there is a real danger? You call the owner, the county, or a licensed responder, Omar said. You do not invent authority because a view bothers you. Derek crossed his arms. We understood that after court. Understanding after punishment is not learning before action. He handed them care logs. Every animal checked, every gate opened, every hour signed. The pages moved in the breeze. That evening, Stonegate Ridge held a special election. Camilla sat in front with the county plat projected behind her. The new charter requires outside review, she said. No emergency entry without ownership verification and 2 independent approvals. Gerald Frost stood. That will slow development. It should slow trespass, someone answered. The motion passed 31-4. 2 weeks later, the county adopted the same safeguards for agricultural land. Emergency forms would display ownership, parcel coordinates, and the official accepting liability. Omar's training became mandatory for boards bordering ranches. At Hollow Creek, Vanessa finished the gate alone. She wiped mud from the latch, then noticed her loafers beside the barn door, clean and useless. She carried the rubber boots back to Omar. "Keep them," he said. "You'll need them Wednesday." She looked toward Atlas and Solomon beyond the repaired fence. "I know." Malcolm checked the gate. It swung once, then settled square. On the final line, Vanessa wrote, "Private land, owner verified, permission required." 5 years later, that log still hung beside the classroom door. By the first autumn after the ruling, 7 framed acceptance letters hung above Asha's desk. New applications waited beneath them. Preserved genetic material from Atlas and Solomon had produced a healthy calf with the same deep chest and patient eyes, though no one pretended the old line had returned untouched. Dr. Price supervised the program without charge, and Camilla reviewed every boundary map before the county published it. At the first scholarship ceremony, Malcolm stood near the back wall while Asha read Evelyn's original rule aloud. The dried blue flower rested beneath glass beside the leather ledger. "You should say something," Asha whispered. Malcolm looked at the students and shook his head. 3 years later, Stonegate Ridge issued its first public compliance report. Every emergency entry request now required parcel verification, 2 independent approvals, and a recorded attempt to contact the owner. Omar's training had spread to 11 neighboring associations. Gerald Frost resigned from the development board after an audit showed he had ignored boundary warnings. Nathan Keller left association law and began advising rural boards on consent and record preservation. Tanya completed every shift and later joined a regional oversight panel where she demanded an audit trail for each vote. Brooke finished her court term, then kept volunteering at the scholarship office twice a month. Derek lost his HOA contracting license for falsifying access records. After retraining, he found work with a fencing cooperative where gate entry required an owner's signature. Vanessa took the longest. During the 5th spring, Malcolm found her beside Atlas, brushing dried mud from his shoulder. The rubber boots Omar had given her were cracked at the ankles. "He still knows me," she said. "He knows who brings feed." She nodded. "That may be enough." On the final morning of the 5-year order, Judge Bennett visited Hollow Creek with Rachel Kim and Harvey Lawson. Omar checked the last time sheet at 8:06 a.m. The defendants had completed every payment, training session, and work hour. Harvey closed the file, Rachel shook Malcolm's hand, and the judge signed the release against the hood of a ranch truck. Camilla watched from the shade with her county atlas on her lap. Dr. Price stood beside Asha near the classroom. Inside, adult scholarship recipients compared soil samples and livestock charts beneath 3 rules: verify ownership, obtain consent, document access. Before the others left, Malcolm carried the repaired brass measuring tool into the room. A thin line of solder remained visible across the hinge. He hung it above the door as the first instrument students saw before touching an animal or opening a gate. Asha adjusted it until it sat level. "Mom would notice the crooked side," she said. "She noticed everything." Outside, Vanessa handed Omar the final care log. Brooke placed fresh scholarship forms on Asha's desk. Tanya locked the records cabinet. Derek tested the east gate once, then stepped back without entering. Malcolm opened it himself. Atlas and Solomon moved toward the far pasture, broad backs catching the evening light. The calf followed at a distance, small against the grass but steady on its feet. Behind them, the repaired gate settled without a sound. The solder line held. Have you ever seen someone misuse authority over land, work, family, or something deeply personal? Share your experience in the comments, especially if one quiet piece of evidence changed what happened next. Send this story to someone who believes dignity matters even when no one in the room is willing to defend it, and that justice should repair more than it punishes. Subscribe for more stories about accountability, quiet resilience, and the changes that begin when ordinary people refuse to let the record be rewritten. Every story here follows the moment when silence ends, facts remain, and systems are forced to answer.